Good afternoon, boys and girls, and welcome to episode 56, the final episode of the year of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, here on YouTube. And today, as I'm sure you know if you have made a point of tuning in live, we are going to be looking at my selection of the best perfumes of the year, the best perfumes of 2019. And you'll have to forgive me if I move very, very carefully because some of the best perfumes are hidden behind these books, and I'm just really, really worried that I might just knock this whole display over. Let me make sure that everything's all right on the tablet. I've already had one hello from Tashara. Thank you very much for tuning in. Right, here we go. I think everything is all right. So the plan for today is, first of all, not to take up too much of your time because I know we're all busy doing all sorts of other things this time of year. I hope you've had an enjoyable and relaxing and peaceful festive season so far, those of you for whom it is a festive season. The plan for today is to have a sniff of some of the perfumes that are here. Hello from Yorkshire, says Right Glory. Happy holidays. Hello back to you from Hampshire, actually, where it's kind of grey and cold today. And I did that because there is a window right there, which you can't see. I've chosen 10 perfumes for my list of the best perfumes of the year, as per usual. Not all 10 of them are here because I thought that would just be too much. Hello from the most industrial place in Poland, Katowice, says Tomasz. Is it the most? I thought Łódź was always supposed to be the most industrial. And Mystery Forms says, hello everyone. Hi everybody. Mystery Forms, hello as well to you. There are a few perfumes that I didn't put on here because I thought we're not going to have time to smell them all. On the blog, over on persolaise.com, the post with the list of the best perfumes is scheduled to pop up at 2 p.m. my time, which is literally in an hour's time. So at the top of the next hour, the post will go on there. Then once this video has been uploaded, I will link to it over there so that the two posts and videos can talk to each other and you can read the post or watch the video or whatever. And I guess the only thing left for me to say is if you've stumbled across this channel and you haven't subscribed to me already, please consider subscribing. Please consider giving me hearts and thumbs up depending on where you're watching, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on YouTube. Please feel free to leave a comment, ask a question, even if you're not watching the live broadcast, because I get round to all of the comments eventually. Angeline, hello. Lynn's smells hello as well. Are the best perfumes behind the books? Tashar asks. Yes, but not all of them. I've put 6 of them here because I just thought we wouldn't get round to doing 10. So the thing I've got to ask myself now is, and you've kind of got like 5 seconds to answer this question, because I want to read out the whole list as well. Shall I tell you now which perfumes are on the list but are not behind the books, so that we can start revealing some of the books and start smelling some things? I guess it makes sense to tell you. There are 4 on the top 10 list that aren't here. Good afternoon from Manchester, says Andre. Yes, please, says Tashar. Okay, well, that's 1 yes. So I think, because I guess it kind of makes sense for you to know what I rate. Hello from the north, Floating Man. Hi. What I rate, but I haven't put here. That makes sense, doesn't it? There's no point saving that till the end. Oh, keep us in suspense, says James. No, I don't know. That's kind of false suspense, isn't it? Because we won't have much to say about them. So, the 4 that are on the top 10 but are not here are Experimentum Crucis from Italie d'Orange, and at least I know that's made at least one person watching this happy. Am I right? Experimentum Crucis, please, you have to interact on this video, by the way. Ashfaq says, good to catch you live after missing the last 2 was away for Umrah. That's fine. You can watch after the broadcast. Thank you for tuning in. We have to have a fair bit of interaction on this video because you have to tell me if you think my choices are just completely wrong. Oh, I've got a smile from Lynn Smells. I thought I might. You have to tell me what some of your favourites are as well. You can do that over on the blog as well. Hi from Manila in the Philippines, says Jared. Thank you very much for tuning in, Jared. And good afternoon, says Vitali. So we're all here. The gang is all here. Experimentum Crucis, I put on the top 10. Even though, good night from Indonesia, says Fahmi. Hi, Fahmi. Even though I'm not 100% convinced if I like it, or to be more precise, whether it likes me, because I find its patchouliness. It makes heavy use of a Givaudan material called Akigala wood, which is a sort of patchouli variant. It's so strong, that aspect of it. that I almost start feeling uncomfortable wearing it. And yet, because I have struggled to make my mind up about it, and because I'm compelled to keep going back to it, that's what made me think, well, surely this is pretty great perfumery. It's if it's that challenging, because every time I think, no, actually, I don't like it, I don't think it's a very good perfume, there's another aspect of it that makes me think, oh, but it was kind of interesting. And, and I think the more you keep going back, the more that's a sign that actually there's something interesting going on here, and something that you need to give the benefit of the doubt to. So that's kind of why it made it on the list. It's by Quentin Biche, who's made at least one other very interesting for État Libre d'Orange. Interesting thing for État Libre d'Orange. Next on, it's definitely addictive, says Linsmer. Yes, but also, it's interesting you use the word addictive, because I sort of found that I wanted to push it away from myself sometimes. Ooh, buy the book, because this will topple. Almost as though I felt it wasn't very good for me. Although, funnily enough, a couple of times when I ended up wearing it to work, Akigala Wood, which facets of patchouli does it highlight in Experimentum, says Ashfaq? Anything that is kind of metallic. You know how patchouli can smell obviously really, really dirty and earthy, but also, like in Tom Ford's Patchouli Absolute, it can go completely the other way. The camphoraceousness can almost start going into the realms of paint stripper. And I don't know if I said this in my original video on Experimentum Crucis, there is something about it, and I realise this may be very, very personal to me, and I'm not using this to judge the perfume. There is something about it that reminds me of some mosquito repellents that I've used on holidays to countries where it's a good idea to use mosquito repellent. So I think that was a bit unfortunate. Maybe I shouldn't put that idea in your head. But yeah, very, very strange, and sufficiently strange to warrant a place on the list. Next up, that's on the list of top 10 best perfumes of the year, but isn't over here, is Copper from Comme des Garçons. Herman and Fin du Monde and Attaque le Soleil. Yes, by Quentin Biche. Thank you very much. So Copper from Comme des Garçons, which we covered in a video not that long ago. So I thought, okay, probably not much point to returning to it here. Why did I include that one? Again, because it struck me as being quite original, a kind of sci-fi green, green in the galbanum sense, not in the grass sense, but really, really quite odd. It made me think of one of my favourite films of the year, actually, which was the sci-fi movie High Life by Claire Denis. There was something about it that was extremely natural, but also completely artificial, like the garden that's growing on the spaceship in the movie High Life. Very, very interesting film, actually, if you haven't seen it. Copper, as far as I've been able to find out, is by Aliénor Massenet, the perfumer Aliénor Massenet. Next up on the list, but not here, is another perfume by a woman, actually, as it happens. It was Karine Chevalier was the perfumer, and the perfume was Los Angeles by the UK-based brand Gallivant, founded by Nick Stewart. I was really, really taken with the Los Angeles, again, because I couldn't quite make up my mind about it. I guess its most obvious notes are Narcissus and Tuberose. I did a written review of Los Angeles on the blog, so you can go along and find it. But it also conveyed the neon lights of Los Angeles, and maybe it was fanciful of me. Maybe it was fanciful of me to think this, although this is how perfumery works. You know, the concept puts an idea in your head and then you see the idea reflected in the smells. But there was something about both ambition and gaudiness and hopelessness and loss that was conveyed in Los Angeles. I was very taken with it, very taken with it. And if you haven't checked out Gallivant, you ought to. All of the scents have a very particular signature in the sense that they tend to be not exactly quiet, but they're not loud. They're quite restrained. They don't want to draw too much attention to themselves, even in the case of Los Angeles. And so, like Istanbul, which is a really well done leather perfume, amber perfume. Sorry, I should say. The leather one is London, the rosy leather. So Istanbul is the amber. even that sometimes when I wore it, I thought, oh, I just wish this had a little bit more oomph, but it doesn't, and it's not trying to, and I think that's fair enough. And then finally on the top 10. But by the way, I'm not ignoring all your messages. I'm going to read them in a sec. I just thought if I keep interrupting myself, that's really, really annoying for the people who are not watching live. The final one that's on the top 10 but is not here is Métallique from Tom Ford, composed by Antoine Maisondieu. I liked it because I've only just realised there are two metallic ones here, copper and Métallique. I wonder if there's more metallic ones coming up. No, not overtly metallic anyway. I liked it because it made a kind of refreshing change from everything else that seemed to be served up by the mainstream, especially mainstream veering towards feminine this year. And it was a convincing olfactory presentation of coldness and metallicness. Maybe more convincing in the top sections than in the dry down, but still it had the sort of the aldehydic, almond-like, cool, icy feel that justified the name, justified the bottle. It worked, and it also managed to be quite elegant. So those are the four that are on the list but are not here. We'll start getting to these ones in a sec. I will also, if possible, if I can work out how to do it, post links to the original blog posts where I reviewed the scents on the list, or the original videos where I covered them, so that you can go into the video description and click. There's also a link to my Ko-fi page. If you don't know what that is, please consider checking it out. Thank you so much to everybody who supported me on Ko-fi, by the way, this year. So let me just make have a quick glance at the comments I may have missed. Ashfaq says, oh, the top note parts of patchouli, not a fan of those either. Yes, that sort of thing. This is why I like aged patchouli. Lynn says, not mosquito repellent, so that's still on the État Livre d'Orange. Copper and pepper, both in my wish list for next year, says Tushar. Oh, you mean black pepper, right? I really, really love black pepper. Hello from South Korea, says Trevor. Thank you very much for tuning in. Ashfaq says, we'll be seeing the Twilight guy soon in Batman. Yes, I know. But anyway. And bonjour from Paris, says Chang. Thank you, all of you, for tuning in. Okay, are we ready for the rest? I'm sure there was something else I meant to have said, but I can't remember what it was now. I don't think we're going to be doing a blotter update on these scents. Personally, I find metallic notes in perfumes too repulsive to wear, says Tomasz. Fair enough, although have you tried these two? Because they're quite interestingly done. You know, there's sometimes when metallic notes start veering towards things that feel of blood, which can be an interesting effect, but again, whether it's wearable or not, I suppose depends on you. Okay, so let's move Lizzie's book aside very, very carefully to reveal the first one. Oh, thank goodness, everything's still intact. Okay, and here we go. Can you see that? So what next on my list of the top 10 perfumes of 2019 is, thank goodness, something from Uncle Serge. Lutens, exactly. La Couche du Diable. And I was really, really pleased to be able to include a Lutens on this list, because I still have a lot of fondness and affection for the house. And even though I've enjoyed wearing some of the quieter things Lutens has been giving us in recent years, I haven't thought they were great, but I really enjoyed this from first sniff. It's one of those ones that you want to be careful when you spray around white fabric. There is nothing metallic in Métallique from Tom Ford, says Right Glory. Fair enough. I was sufficiently convinced that the coldness conveyed a sort of silvery metallicness, but that's fine. This was... Has anybody out there tried this? The interesting thing, no, well, not the only interesting thing, but one of that Lutens is on my wish list to sample, says Ashfaq. Fair enough. It was sort of touted, hailed as... Oh, Angeline says, I love Don Delay. That has a metallic note. Yes, I was taken with that. Have you been wearing this one? Says, well, yeah, a fair amount. Not bad, actually, for a bottle that I haven't had that long, considering I wear lots and lots of things. So yes, I have worn that. There was the whole thing of Lutens finally does an oud scent. Do not go looking for this if you are after an oud scent. In fact, I was kind of relieved that it wasn't a an all-out oud. We've got an oudi one coming up, but I have at least tried Penhaligon's Satori, Sickening Experience. Do you mean sartorial? Yes, and that has a kind of what was it, like a steaming iron effect, which only seems to work on some people. I never particularly got it on myself, but I was able to detect it on other people. So this really is the Lutens really is about labdanum, and you can't help but think of their classic Ambre Sultan when you wear it. Although that, of course, becomes more overtly. I remember how it triggered a certain memory of yours, says Ashfaq. I've forgotten that now. I've forgotten a memory. Is that really bad? Too many mince pies. You'll have to remind me. Try and remind me cryptically. So yes, Ambre Sultan is more overtly ambery, vanillic, sweeter, smokier. Sauvage EDT metallic type notes are horrible, but something along the lines of Silver Mountain Water can be pleasant, says Floating Man. Yeah, absolutely. This is much more about the labdanum in the sense that it's darker, heavier, sticky, but not in a syrupy, sweet way. It's clingy, I suppose. A friend stage performance, says Lynn Smell. Ah, yes, of course, yes, I remember about the candle, right? Yes, yeah, actually, thank you. That is true. It's got a sort of focus to it. Is that the kind of thing that I was saying? Your friend staring at a single light source. Yeah, I do not know the steam iron effect counts as metallic, but I'm yet to meet a person who would find it disagreeable in outrageous, says Vitali. What, Frederick Mal outrageous? Okay. It does not work wonders on my skin, just a horrifying effect, says Tomash. Oh, well, at least you know what to wear when you need to be horrifying, right? Because sometimes you need to be horrifying too. I always think if people want to be intimidating, a good perfume to wear is the original l'Odyssée from Issey Miyake. I just find something very, very cold and aloof. I mean, genius perfumery. And yeah, so I keep getting sidetracked, which is fine. I said interact. We have to interact in this video. But I'm not sure anybody has said here whether they have tried this. So this was a return to form for me from Serge Lutens, because it's the kind of thing where I think a lot of us were thinking, yes, okay, we get the fact that you want to try making different things, but please can you just give us one of the sorts of things that we know you do so well. And I suppose he finally relented and thought, okay, let's give them something that we can say has got an oud in it, but actually stick tons of labdanum in it, and give it a cheeky, dubious name. And there we are. That was Couche du Diable. Okay, next up. I haven't had any comments from you, by the way, as to what some of your favourites of the year are. I suppose I ought to do a reveal of this one. So let's take Barbara's book away. These are all very, very good books, by the way, if you haven't got these in your library. And you should be able to see then that we have got a Le Labo. Oh no, I'm just seeing you can't see that. Oh no, can you? Because my monitor here is like a few seconds behind. So what happened? Yes, you did see it. You saw it. This is one of their city exclusives. So this was their Tabac 28. I think made by Frank Volkel, but I need to confirm that. It's very, very difficult sometimes finding who's made a certain perfume, and I'm wary of copy-pasting information that I just happen to find on the internet, because you then don't know whether that information is actually accurate. But we'll say that perhaps it was made by Frank Volkel. I don't know how you pronounce his surname correctly. This is their Miami exclusive. So ordinarily you can only buy it in their Miami boutique or boutiques. But once a year, of course, when they have their amnesty, you can buy it from wherever. You can get it online. I was really taken with this. I know it's kind of got my name written all over it, because things that are leathery and tobacco-y do tend to have my name written all over them. And as I say in the blog post that will be going live at the top of the hour, where can we put this? Should we put that there? I can't really see. As I say in the blog post, it does mostly operate on along the lines of tobacco cliches that you might expect. So it's got the green notes, it's got the smoky notes, it's got the hay-like notes. it's got the boozy notes, of course, that quite often go with tobacco, things like whiskey, those sorts of peaty smells. I guess the twist here is that they've included a cardamom note at the top, and as you would imagine, that works very, very well because the spiciness works well with the tobacco, the coolness works well with the tobacco, but having said all of that, there's nothing crazily groundbreaking about it, but I thought it was very well done, and I think that may be a point at which to say, and I hate to strike a slightly down note. I'm not ignoring the comments, by the way. Please keep them coming. I'm gonna read them out in a sec. I hate to strike a slightly down note on what should be a celebratory occasion, but I did not think that 2019 actually was a fantastic year overall in terms of perfume creation. It was interesting that when I was looking at the perfumes to put on my list of the best perfumes of the decade, by the way, which was a two-part video which you can watch by searching for it, I didn't include anything from 2019. There were these are all perfumes that I'm quite happy to put on my list of the best perfumes of the year, but I didn't struggle to compose this list really, whereas in some years, if I'm restricting myself to 10, I do have quite a job because I don't want to leave out things that I've really loved. Whereas this year, the cardamom note is really, really nice on this, particularly on paper. And I've enjoyed wearing it. I haven't worn this a huge amount, but I have worn it a bit and really, really enjoyed wearing it. It's interesting comparing it with, is it Roaring Ratcliffe from Penhaligon's, which is also a tobacco scent. This is, the Labo is rougher, which I quite like. There's something coarse about it, which works very, very well. Comments coming through. So that was I guess the 6th one on the list, because I read 4. Lots of comments coming. So I quite liked Dior Joy Intense that they released this year, said Tushar. Yes, so did I. I gave that quite a positive review. What does the Le Labo have to do with Miami, says Lynn Smells. I think it's the proximity to Cuba and tobacco and those sorts of ideas. That kind of works. Dream of Me No More says, have you been to the Museum of London Docklands? That has the most amazing tobacco-y smell due to all the equipment that is saturated in tobacco oils. No, I haven't. Sounds like the kind of place I would enjoy. Thank you for the tip. I'm currently sniffing Ganymede, says Christian Sense, and I'm very much enjoying it. Fruity suede leather scent. And then Dream of Me No More says Miami's close to Cuba. Yes. I've always ignored Le Labo, says Right Glory, although so many reviewers push it. I will try it if you recommend it. Tobacco is one of my favourite notes. Le Labo, overall as a brand, is curious. They do have some really, really great things. I love their patchouli. I love their Santal 33. Lots of people do. That's become quite a cult scent. But a lot of their stuff is also maybe a little bit too hyped, maybe a lot more ordinary than the brand seems to think. I think they like to present this notion of being quite cutting edge and hipster friendly and innovative. Maybe sometimes they're not. You know, they like one of their city exclusives this year was basically very, very heavily inspired by Neroli Portofino. But as a brand, absolutely worth checking out. Ashfaq says some of my favourite perfumes, excluding single oud oils from artisan houses, are Ottoman Empire 2 from Arich Ladore, Antiquity from Arich Ladore, Lost in Heaven from Francesca Binacchi, is that right, host? And East from Theon Reinthal, Bello from Bogue, Fougère Noire from Sultan Pasha, and a few more. Now there's a list. Yeah, there's lots to check out there. Cardamom leather is a good combo, says Shara. Absolutely. Good morning from the USA, Serapio. Hello. It used to be that downtown NYC would smell like Santal 43 because everyone was wearing it. Yeah, and you do still get that effect sometimes in London. I'm keeping away from Le Labo because of their connections with Lauder, says Floating Man. Okay, what have you got against Estee Lauder? Do tell. Angeline says there were only 2 that I fell in love with. Sylvain Delacourte's Vahina. Oh, I see, overall. And Tom Ford's Soleil Neige. Most others I liked but did not love. Fair enough. Le Labo is hipster perfume, says Serapio, or In a marketing sense, I would agree. I'm not sure that actually in an olfactory sense they really are, but yes, absolutely. Okay, moving on, moving on, moving on. What can I lift off here? Okay, I think we'll go. I think we'll go for my book. Did you notice I said my book? Yeah, this is my book. Out of print now, but you can still find copies on Amazon. Ooh, let's do this and let us reveal something that many, many months ago I actually said I thought would end up on my list of the best perfumes of the year, and that is, as you can see, let's pick it up carefully. It is Opus 11. There you go. Opus 11 from Amouage, made by Pierre Negrin, and still from the time when the much missed Christopher Chong was creative director of the brand. Actually, I've made it sound as though he is no longer with us. He is still very much with us. He is just no longer creative director at Amouage. And I don't know who is. I don't know what's happening at Amouage. It'll be interesting to see what happens with their stuff this year. I have worn this a lot this year. I have really, really worn this a lot. Interesting idea, interesting concept that was quite well executed. Let's pop that back there. Does that work? Oh, this is... You know how... oh, nice choice, says Lynn Smells. Thank you very much. You know how as a kid... Is Mr. Chong watching now? I don't know. I think if he were, he probably wouldn't say. And he's probably got better things to do nowadays than watch perfume videos. But what Opus is, it says Serapio. It's the Opus 11, the one that came out just at the end of 2018. And... it is still the most recent Opus. There hasn't been one since then. I've heard incredible things about Opus 11, says Serapio. Well, I don't want to overhype it. I really, really love it. I don't know if many of you would agree with this, but I remember as a kid just loving the smell of petrol. You know, like if you were in your parents' car and you pulled up at a petrol station and you got out to fill up the tank. People say it's an even better version of Interlude Man, says Serapio. They're quite different. They are different. I would always love the smell of petrol. I would love the smell of petrol filling the car. I'm not as keen on the smell of petrol as I used to be. But that rocket fuel effect is what I love so much about Opus 11. There's something about it that just feels like it's going to explode and it's going to take off. You're not the only one, says Floating Man. Thank you very much. And the idea here was to, as many of you will be aware, Christopher Chong was... oh, side note, I'm glad the flowers are back today, Angeline. Yes, this was a gift from somebody for Christmas, actually. I thought that was rather sweet. Where was I? Christopher Chong was always inspired by things happening, you know, in the media, as much as he was by his interest in opera and in cultural happenings and events. And he took the idea of fake news, I wonder where he might have got that from, and thought, well, let's embrace the notion of some ouds actually being completely synthetic, and let's really, really make that the central part of a perfume. And that's what you get in Opus 11. It's this unashamed use of synthetic ouds with maybe some real ouds, synthetic leathers with maybe some kind of natural, you know, castoreum or something like that. And the effect is the kind of perfume that you would imagine would be the smell of, you know, a launch pad for the space shuttle. Is it Cape Canaveral or somewhere? Is it in Florida? It just feels as though it's exploding heat, and it's not smoky, which is why I think I would say it differs from Interlude Man, because Interlude Man to me is all about smoke and wood chips. This is fuel. This is oil on fire. This is something from the core of the earth, burning, blazing, and also interesting use of a very, very bitter sort of marjoram herbal note at the top. I just loved it. I loved it, and Madame Persolaise loves it. And when that happens, that when Madame Persolaise and Mr. Persolaise agree on a perfume, and Mr. Persolaise actually gets to wear a perfume that he likes, then that's wonderful when the stars align, because Mr. Persolaise can very rarely wear, of an evening, can very rarely wear things that have a strong vetiver note, because Madame Persolaise doesn't like vetiver too much. Okay. Comments. So we had a lot of agreement about petrol, which is interesting. Floating Man says, explains why Fahrenheit was such a success. Yes, that kind of thing. Although in Fahrenheit, the link with Violet Leaf was always more overt, wasn't it? You don't get that so much in Opus 11. Anna says, loves the concept. Yup. One of the few spray perfumes I like from Amouage, says Ashfaq. Dream of Me No More says, Fahrenheit Original and Canisia 10 to me are more petrolish perfumes. Possibly, yeah. I think Canisia 10, to me, goes into that tangy leather, Tuscan leather territory more. But yeah, I agree with you. Who is the perfumer for Opus 11, says Serapio? It's Pierre Negrin. I love the scent of turpentine, especially oil of turpentine, says Angeline. Yes, it's that kind of thing, isn't it? Like burning tar, says Tashara. Maybe, but without... I don't know, it feels cleaner than that. Somehow cleaner than that. Your description of this opus is sounding Kubrick-y. Well, but that's because you don't ever have to dig too deep in my brain to find Kubrick. Wow, finally caught a live stream, says Joe. Fantastic, thank you for tuning in. And wish Amouage would reintroduce their attars in original formulations, at least as close as possible. I can't see that happening anytime soon. I guess that means Mr. Persolaise cannot wear Sultan Vetiver then. Well, sometimes Mr. Persolaise tries to get away with things like that. Okay. While I was talking about that one, actually, I just thought to myself, oh, I'd better tell them something that I meant to tell you, and I've completely forgotten what it was, so it'll probably come back to me. But let us move on. I wonder what it was. I already said I'm not doing... Oh, yes, sorry, the only thing to say as well is that I know I call this list, the list of the best perfumes of 2019, but the unwritten thing with all of these sorts of lists is obviously it's the best perfumes of 2019 based on the perfumes that I had a chance to smell. I'm not for 1 second pretending that my name is Michael Edwards and that I smelled every single thing that was released this year. I doubt even Michael Edwards actually smelled every single thing. He has a team of people to smell things for him, and he doesn't have to evaluate in that sense. He just has to categorize. So, that's why you will see that one of the perfumes coming up is actually a 2018 perfume. Perhaps that might be the one that we do next. Yeah, these things ultimately are subjective, and I've also got a few samples that arrived in the last couple of weeks of perfumes that are obviously 2019 perfumes, but I haven't really tried them yet, and if I happen to love one or two of them, then they may make it on the best of 2020. So just bear that in mind. That's a slight qualification, a caveat. Ashfaq says, whilst in India, did you try khus neat on your skin? It's beautiful. I bought some. I absolutely bought some, and I even bought the khus, the cordial, that you can dilute in water and drink, which is just fantastic. But Madame Persolaise didn't like that either, although she doesn't mind it when I use a vetiver soap. Let's not turn this into a session against Madame Persolaise, okay? Yes, Ashfaq, I finished my beautiful homage on the last few mils of Tribute. I've still got a bottle of Tribute. It was good. Good stuff. The green vetiver, says Floating Man. Copper distillation induces that colour. Is horrible. Don't you like? I kind of liked it. I did like it, but anyway. Okay, next. What is the worst 2019 release you smelled? Ooh. Oh, I'd have to think about that one. And I'm not sure. It would probably be some generic something. Mine is Tiffany in Love, says Serapio. The men's one? Yeah, that was pretty awful. I mean, I smelt lots and lots of really, really awful things, and you probably just Creed. I knew somebody would say Creed. The Tiffany was pretty bad. Dior Sauvage Parfum. I didn't like the Dior Sauvage Parfum, but I don't think it was the worst thing I smelt. The worst thing I smelt was probably something that I've already forgotten, something that I just happened to smell in passing, and I thought, oh dear, how awful is this? How depressed must the perfumer have been when they made it? The number of really, really poor perfumes far outweighed the number of good perfumes. But that probably goes without saying, and that's probably true of anything, probably true of movies. Right, let's move this aside. This, by the way, happens to be my favourite perfume book of the year, by Neil Chapman, the chap who Let me remind you of Aventus Cologne, says Ashfaq. Thank you so much for reminding me of Aventus Cologne. He blogs as the Black Narcissus, so if you Google Black Narcissus perfume or perfume blog, you should find him. So this is his book, and his book is Hiding Something by Ferragamo. And this is a 2018 release, so I said that one of them is a 2018, but I had to include this here. It was new to me in 2019. This is Testa di Moro from Ferragamo. This was such good stuff. This, by the way, is by Fabrice Pellegrin, who made Womanity, amongst many, many other things. Almost all of the perfumes for Ross & Ross, the brand that used to be called Dear Rose. And this was one of my, and I know I keep saying this, so those of you who followed my blog, those of you who follow my, musings on social media, forgive me if you've heard this before. Lucky you, that Ferragamo is rare. Is it? Why is it rare? Actually, before the broadcast, I looked it up on their website, and it was okay. The worst I ever smelt is Fahrenheit by Dior. Headache-inducing trash, says Right Glory. You mean the worst ever, or the worst this year? Fahrenheit. I loved Fahrenheit, the original Fahrenheit. I was a teenager when it came out, but I just wore it. I became known for, wearing Fahrenheit. And I was so impressed when people would come up to me and say, "Are you wearing Fahrenheit?" Ooh. But to go back to the Ferragamo, we need to pause. The worst ever, says Right Glory. Oh dear. Floating Man says it's not available to sample easily. Oh, okay. Yes, I suppose. I mean, I think in the UK, it's probably available only in their boutiques, and I believe in Harrods, possibly in some other high-end department stores. It's not part of their main range. Now, one of my favourite scents of all time is Chanel's Antaeus. Always loved it. Probably my first schoolgirl crush wore a Fahrenheit. Do you know the number of people who have said to me that their first crush wore Fahrenheit? It either says something about the power of Fahrenheit, or the fact that loads of people wore Fahrenheit. I'm wearing French Lover, says Pisebi. Do you like it? Yes, I like it, but if we're being really, really honest, I like how it starts more than how it ends. Anyway, one of my favourite perfumes is Chanel's Antaeus, and much as I love to wear it, I do think that it's starting to feel a bit dated. Antaeus is the greatest masculine scent from Chanel, says Serapio. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly up there with Pour Monsieur. It's starting maybe to feel a little bit dated, maybe because it's a bit louder than we like our masculine scents to be at the moment, and maybe a bit rougher, a bit coarser. It is not stopping me from wearing it, but when I wear it, I do think that maybe I'm projecting a kind of retro vibe. Too bad currently it's just a shadow of its former self, says Serapio. I haven't tried current formulation for a while. Antaeus is so good, says Flo. Yes, it is. Now, I have no idea whether the perfumer Fabrice Pellegrin thought, "Oh, I wonder if I could update Antaeus." I have no idea if he did that consciously, subconsciously. Perfumers probably think along those lines all the time, but to what extent they're doing it deliberately, calculatedly is who knows. But it does feel like he has updated Antaeus for those of us who started thinking that maybe it's beginning to feel a tiny bit dated, because it's got that majesty. How many of you remember the old Antaeus advert, which I think was basically a kind of, was it basically just like a semi-naked man carrying something or lifting something? And this something turned out to be a huge bottle of Antaeus. Am I right? Have I made that up? Because I seem to remember a sort of image like that. But that image just conveyed the power of the perfume, and the carefully used power. I've used the word majesty already. I think that's the only thing that comes back to my mind. There is something beautifully majestic about it. Power that doesn't need to shout too loud. Power that doesn't need to assert its authority too aggressively, too brutally. So it's got leather in it, obviously. It's got a saffron note. It's got a kind of Arabian rosy feel happening. It's got myrrh and styrax and all of those wonderful balsams and resins in there. It's got the soul of Antaeus, maybe a bit sweeter, but what it does so fantastically is that it handles the volume control just right. I mean, there is no mistaking this perfume, and a few sprays is all you need to announce to the world that you are wearing perfume. But I think nowadays Antaeus maybe just overdoes it a little bit, whereas this pitches it just right. Somebody said, what is it called? It's Testa di Moro from Ferragamo. On a very, very personal level, just in terms of what I wore a lot of, this probably was my favourite perfume of the year, together with Opus XI. Like I said, for example, the État Libre d'Orange Experimentum Crucis I found fascinating and I admire it, but I found it a struggle to wear, whereas this was, and again, another one that Madame Persolaise likes. So we managed to get 2 this year, which is good going. I want to make sure I haven't missed any comments. Current formula is still pretty good, I think, although not as beastly or animalic, says Floating Man. Have you seen Cats? Why are you asking me? Hang on, I've missed another one. Angeline says, my past crushes were Antaeus, Fahrenheit, Kouros, Pour Monsieur, and Gucci Envy for Men. So either they had really good taste or you did. Have you seen Cats, says Dream of Me No More. Why are you asking? Okay, in a sentence, no, I haven't seen Cats, but I'm actually really, really fascinated to. Serapio says, remind us of the name of that Ferragamo. I just told you, Testa di Moro. If anything else kind of smells like Antaeus, I need it in my life. And if you do manage to smell it, please, please, please come back here and tell us what you think of it. Understated, says Floating Man. The thing is, I don't want to say understated because there isn't actually anything understated about this. But in comparison with Antaeus, yes, it's understated. Have you tried Queer 28 from Labo, I guess you mean? Yes, I have, and that reminded me of an Amouage. Which Amouage did it remind me of? I don't think it was. I don't think it was Interlude. Somewhere I've done a written review of that leather from Labo over on Persolaise.com, so check it out and you'll see what I think of it. Dream of Me No More says, I think there was an Antaeus advert that was just someone's back muscles. I remember there was a huge search among models for one with a blemish-free back. Oh, I didn't know that. It really is the trapezius of perfumes. I didn't know that. How do you know that? Right Glory says, Antaeus is old man scent. Sorry, just not my generation. Yeah, which is kind of like what I was saying. Dream of Me No More says, for me, it's the HP Sauce of fragrances. Okay, because you love HP Sauce? Right, we need to move on. We need to move on. We've got 2 left. We've got 2 left. And this one is coming up when we move Monsieur Ropion away. From what I've seen, is already ending up on quite a few people's best of lists. I've been careful not to. I love HP Sauce, spicy and manly. Fantastic bit of information. Thanks, Dream of Me No More. And Bessenza says, I haven't tried Antaeus. How's performance? Don't get me started on that word. Don't get me started on the P word. I may have to do a whole blog post on performance. We won't talk about performance. Right, let's move this aside and let's reveal a Gucci. Because I thought this was pretty good stuff. So this is the Memoire... Oh, Ashfaq is covering his eyes. Are you covering your eyes because I said Gucci or because somebody said performance? This is the Memoire D'Une Odeur, the memory of a smell, memory of an odor from Gucci, composed by Alberto Morillas, and under the creative direction of Alessandro Michele. Solid release, says Vicenza. I liked it. Have we discussed the Lutens? Somebody else said. Yes, we have. That was the first one we looked at. So when the video's over, you can go back, and I think it was around about the 9-10 minute mark. No, says Joe Swift. Why? Because you didn't like this. I was impressed with this. A lot of people complained that it's too quiet, but I think that was kind of the point of it. Let's pop it somewhere so people can still actually see it. Oh, this is. Does that work? Okay. And yeah, this is for a mainstream release. Actually, for any release, I've been unplugged for a while due to my phone's poor battery performance. Oh, sorry. Gucci, I like this one. Yes, so did I. A lot of people complained that it didn't last very long. It very, very, very quickly becomes a skin scent, although I think if you spray it on fabric, it actually lasts a lot longer than some people seem to think. Ashfaq is going now. We'll watch it later. Thank you very much for tuning in, Ashfaq, and Happy New Year to you, and thank you for all the support this year. But the fact that they decided to make chamomile, and really quite a bitter chamomile, a central note in a mainstream perfume, in a really, really straight down the line mainstream perfume, fronted with a Harry Styles advertising campaign and pushed in all the magazines. That I thought was commendable, but just the fact that also it's a really great perfume. I don't think I've smelt anything like this for a while that mixes bitterness, a really, really brave bitterness with shampooy musks, maybe too many of those towards the end, but it's kind of okay. I guess it's what makes it palatable. Unfortunately, the marketing blurb had to spoil things slightly by saying that I think their marketing, Gucci's marketing stuff, says that this marks the first use of chamomile in a perfume, which, yeah, why say things like that? Why say things like that when? But anyway, and there is something dreamlike about it. There is something nostalgic about it. It feels like peering through mists. The effect of the chamomile, I think, is to create a gauze, and it softens the lighting, and it makes you want to peel away layers. And I just thought concept, bottle, execution, it all worked. Great name, Memory of a Smell. So well done, Gucci, and their flanker this year of Bloom, I thought was pretty good stuff as well. So they're doing all right. They're doing all right. And before we do the last one, let's see what comments I have missed. Chamomile tea, I prefer the bottle to the scent, says Chang. Fair enough. Found it very intriguing, says Angeline. I thought it was too quiet, but I did like the bottle and the marketing, says Joe. Beautiful bottle, says Tashara. Sounds like an État Libre perfume, like the concept taken from one of theirs. Like Herman, which is interesting, says Dream of Me No More. Yeah, possibly. Bento Box Snickers Bar, I like the name, says, wears like a second skin. Gucci grew some balls lately regarding their recent releases. I appreciate it, but wouldn't wear it. Yeah, and I think I would go along with that. You could wear Memory of a Smell when you go see Cats. Very good, very good. Serapio says they are non-IFRA compliant daring scents. Really? What makes you say they're non-IFRA compliant? Or do you mean they're non-IFRA compliant? I don't know. I'm sure they must be IFRA compliant. What do you mean they're non-IFRA compliant? And finally, the last one as we pull away Turin and Sanchez is one. I'm talking about Rogue Perfumery, says Serapio. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that comment. Did you try Rogue Perfumery in 2019? No, I haven't. I should check them out then. Okay, so this is, you may not necessarily be able to make out from here. This is Falkar. Can you see that? This is Falkar from Bulgari's La Gemme range, but this was specifically marketed as a masculine. They did 3 in one go. The other two, whose names I can't remember at the moment, but I did a whole video on them, so you can watch the video. The other two, perhaps, were not as wonderful as this one, but this one was great. I really, really loved this. A really well done, proper desert heat leather. The dark sensual leather one, says Chang. Yes, absolutely. The dark sensual leather one that immediately made me think of the opening of The English Patient. You know, the opening of The English Patient, the 90s film by Anthony Minghella, where the desert is filmed in such a way so that the shadows and the curves almost look like bodies all melded into each other, and then you get the shadow of the airplane flying over them. There is just something so curvaceous and sensual about it. It does feel like a perfume that you kind of want to settle into, like the opening of The English Patient. You kind of feel as though the Michael Ondaatje book says to start. Yes, the movie based on the Michael Ondaatje book. Fantastic film, fantastic book, amazing writer. the director and the cinematographer, who was it? It was Walter Murch, I think, was the cinematographer of that film. They somehow made the surface of the desert look as though it was harsh and yet the softest thing imaginable. Funnily enough, like almost like sort of peeling back a memory, going back to the Gucci, and of course the film is about memory, and it just felt like you could fall onto the surface of the desert and just keep falling, and the surface would just keep giving way really, really softly, gently, cocooning you, embracing you, and that's what Falkar smells like. It's in terms of its structure, we've smelt this kind of thing before because it is a rosy, saffrony leather, Arabian, lots of woody notes, but it executes the idea with good quality stuff and fantastic balance. And you just hear the English Patient music playing, the Hungarian singing. Great soundtrack as well, by the way. This was an instant hit for me as well. Okay, I've missed some comments. Bento Box says, every designer having a higher end line lately is both exciting and worrying at the same time. You never know what you'll get and they're too complicated to sample. Yes, and actually a lot of the time, I mean, you know, this is pure supposition on my part, but a lot of the time, I don't think they necessarily spend more money on the juice. They spend more money on the packaging. I mean, the packaging of these Bulgaris is ridiculous, but hey, you know, I guess they've got to do that because they need to scream out for attention when they're in shops like Harrods and Selfridges and Harvey Nicks. But you know, there are plenty of good things coming from people's mainstream ranges. Like, for example, Hermès gave us a very, very good flanker to Twilly this year. Joe Swift says, just might blind buy it. Loved Garanat. Okay, I always worry about people blind buying based on something I've said. Right Glory says, I'll have to try the Bulgari one. Great description, Persolaise. And Kalhar says, the moon did take the cake this year for me. As in a good way, right? Angeline says, your description made me think of Cherki. Ah, yeah, but that's more tobacco hay, isn't it? Whereas this is real desert heat leather. Okay, so very, very, very quickly then, the 10 best perfumes of the year, according to yours truly, super quick now, are Experimentum Crucis from Atelier d'Orange, Copper from Comme des Garçons, Los Angeles from Gallivant, Métallique from Tom Ford, Couche du Diable from Serge Lutens, Tabac 28 from Le Labo, Testa di Moro from Ferragamo, Opus XI from Amouage, Memoire D'Une Odeur from Gucci, and Falkar from Bulgari's La Gemme collection. And the blog post to go with this video will appear on persolaise.com, hopefully in 7 minutes at the top of the hour. Comments coming. Top for me is Francesca Bianchi, The Black Knight, and worst by a mile is the terrible Bogue Douleur. Oh, I need to smell that. Serapio says, I love Experimentum Crucis. Good. So the only thing left for me to say is a huge thank you for all your support and encouragement and friendliness and warmth and generosity this year. It's been really, really great interacting with you. It's been really great getting to know some of you better. It's been really great getting emails from you. Thank you for subscribing. I had to look at my subscriber number just before the video and I thought, wow, when did that happen? I'm almost at 2,000. I think I've only got like 30 odd to go to 2,000. I don't think I'm going to make it before the end of the year, but you know, spread the word, ask people to subscribe, and it's fantastic that so many of you are subscribing. It's fantastic that so many of you are taking the time to write. A special thank you as well to all of you who have supported me on Ko-fi. I really, really appreciate that. It's very, very kind of you to do that, but it's equally kind of you to leave a comment and just say whether you enjoy the videos or you haven't enjoyed the videos. Seriously, if it weren't for how much fun this is, I would have stopped doing it ages ago. And here's to a really, really peaceful year for all of us. I think we need a little bit more peace in the world. I think we need a little bit more kindness in the world. So hopefully a lot more kindness and peace will come to all of us. Let me just make sure I haven't missed any comments. Thanks, have a great new year, says Dream of Me No More. This is the best fragrance YouTube channel. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Keep up the great work. I've recommended you to my friends on Facebook groups. Thank you. That really means a lot. Thank you very much. Thumbs up from Joe. Wish Madame Persolaise and you Happy New Year. I absolutely will. Happy New Year to your family as well. Just an FYI, Tom Ford's Beau de Jour is apparently coming down to their signature line. Oh, interesting. Okay, says Bento Box. Happy New Year, Persolaise, says Christine. We need more kindness and better perfumes in 2020. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Persolaise. Have a fantastic year, says Lynn's. Smells from Niort. And what about Madame Persolaise's list, says Angeline. Good question. I should ask her, actually. But she'll probably just say, oh, I don't know, make it up. What did I give her for Christmas, actually? I gave her Amouage's Love Mimosa. I gave her Acqua di Parma's Rosa Nobile, and I gave her Opus 5 because she was out of Opus 5 from Amouage. She loves Opus 5. She absolutely adores Opus 5, and it's very, very good on her. So, szczęśliwego nowego roku, says Tomasz. Dziękuję bardzo, nawzajem. And have a really, really great New Year's Eve if you're celebrating. Fantastic year ahead. And normal service will be resumed soon, so check out the usual places, social media, etc., to see when the next video will be up. But until then, look after yourselves, be good. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you, Persolaise. Here's to a year hopefully better than any other, says Floating Man. Yes. And bye, people. Be good. Take care.